Welcome to another day and even another video. Thanks for watching. Really do appreciate the people that do watch, because you know, this is the inside of what goes on. This isn't the super flash, you know, out on the beach with the big breasted girls and all hanging on the bow and photo shoots. This is how you get there.
At work. You don't have permission to film me.
Walmart employee leaving.
Yeah, there's cars in the road. I don't know, what else do people say to paparazzi?
Welcome to another day. I'd really like to thank you all for coming along. I know this isn't the most exciting race boat life you would ever think it would be. You know, there's not big breasted girls and beaches in Florida. This is what it's really like to own a 60 or 55-year-old race boat. It's not easy, especially for a guy who doesn't have really anything besides this little tiny garage. That guy got built right here in this driveway, the same way this 1972 John Allmand SuperNova is going to. Don't really create showboats, even though a few of them have won some awards. Quite a few awards, actually, and that one over there and the other one on the other side of it. But I do try to make them as pretty as possible. And with doing that, we've got out our super fine blocks and sandpaper and our carbon dust and all that good stuff. Yeah, one thing does come with age. You start collecting tools, you know, when you're in your 20s and 30s. By the time you get to your 50s like I am, you got quite a few things sitting around. And this is something that I bought 5 or 6 boats ago. Just decided to treat myself. Now, here it is, ready to go. Didn't think I'd be using it again anytime soon, but here it is. I've got a lot of quote-unquote body filler to do, which I'm going to have to find all my high spots and low spots and all that good stuff now, and try to get this thing into, I don't know, 90% shape. And then we'll have to work on the gunnels and things like that, because the gunnels I'm going to do kind of independently of everything else, the deck and all the rest of it, all these big flat areas. They're going to require some, I don't know, I've got a trick to doing it. It's a long process, but of course all of this is. So now I'm going to get my carbon. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start spreading around and find out where my low spots are, and add to my suntan, because today is a nice sunny day, and to be honest, I am not going to complain even if it's super hot, because with the rain, you ain't doing anything. Time to go to work. Well, not as bad as I expected. I mean, there's some minor things I got to do. The majority of the places I got to deal with, though, is maybe another layer of primer would probably fix them. So I'm going to go ahead. I got my rage out. I'm going to hit my little spots. I do have a couple that are just a little bit thicker than what I want to use primer on. So, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit these spots with some rage. And I'm going to hit the other spots with some primer. And then I'm going to go back and start working on the transom again, and maybe by the time that's done, we can come back up to the bow, and then we can go back to the transom again, then we can go back to the bow, and then we can go back to the transom again, and then we can do the gunnels, and then we can go back to the bow, and then we can go back to the transom again. Okay, we're closing up shop a little bit early tonight. Basically, I've run out of supplies. I need primer. I've got the whole back deck reprimed. I've got the gunnel here, this whole side is done. And of course, we did our deck earlier. I tend to like to give it, you know, 12 hours at least. If not, it tends to gum up your sandpaper really bad. And since I have other things to do, I don't really want to rush it anyway. So I need to make a trip to the depot, along with some other things. Like I said, I need primer, and without it, I pretty much am dead in the water at this point. So we will continue on tomorrow. Hey lifers, welcome to another day, and it's a hot one. Is it a hot one? Mega hot. So hot that I don't even want to sand on the primer right now. I'm afraid it's just going to turn into a big ugly mess. I mean, yesterday when I was working on the bow, it was about 10 degrees cooler, and I burned my little hiney butt sitting on this gray thing that soaks up all the heat from the sun. Yeah, here I am complaining now about actually things being too hot and too sunny. Never can please a man, I guess. I don't know. But today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start working on this gunnel while it's in direct sunlight. What the hell? Might as well get a burn while I'm at it. I really haven't done much of anything on this side except for fill the holes with some fiberglass, which they need to be sanded, i.e. ground out, but they're going to have to be done by hand because, like I said, these gunnels are a problem. They're only about 2.5 fingers wide. Really can't get any power tools down there, and sanding fiberglass by hand sucks. But it has to be done. If I can get this side under primer by this evening when things start to cool off a little bit, then I can go ahead and start sanding things. And yeah, we're moving the deck along with everything else. I do got to work on the dash a little bit, but it actually gets a dash cover. I mean, there's a dash pad that goes here, and then there's the actual board that goes over that. So there really isn't a whole lot to quote unquote fix. But I do want it to look good, and we will be painting most of it, or at least attempting to paint most of it when we do paint the rest of the boat. So we do want to fix that up a little bit also. But as I said, I think today's my challenge is my gunnels, and yeah, they leave something to be desired, that's for sure. But the other side seemed to work out quite well. I mean, it's not been sanded yet, and it's probably going to require some more. See, like these spider cracking here. My thing is I tend to use a little bit of that rage, but I mean when I first mix it, when it's still super thin, and then I'll sand that out, and that gets like 90% of these spider cracks, believe it or not. And then of course I go ahead and I hit it with some primer and a little bit of paint away, it's called. This is just a brand name, and it's just a thinner. It's a spray on thinner. It allows the paint to kind of like flow, and it allows it to flow in these cracks or spider cracks, and tends to fix them. I mean, you get rid of the gel coat anyway with the sanding, so there's really isn't a whole lot to spider crack after that anyway. Off to work. And on a side note, it's funny how things get kind of like distracted, and you just, okay, well, they're sitting here, I'll get to them, I'll get to them, I'll get to them. Well, these are two pieces. Of course, this is the deck plate, you know, for the hatch for over top the gas tank. And that's a little plate that goes basically up in here, right there, and it creates a full kind of bulkhead there, and you can use that as like a ski locker. Well, those two pieces have been kicking around. I was really kind of amazed to even find that one piece. I think there's a couple more pieces that go up in there, but they're just long gone, probably 50 years ago. But they've been kicking around and kicking around and kicking around. Yesterday was the first day that I actually tried to attempt it. I fixed anything that was wrong with them. I mean, all they need is a coat of Rust-Oleum, I mean, and they would be almost done. But, you know, it's just something that was sitting over there, meaning like 5 feet over there, and I just didn't get that far away from this thing. So easily, you can just be totally just focused on one thing and not even care about what's going on around you. It's finally starting to cool off a little bit, so we're getting rolling here. Only got about an hour left of sunlight though, that's the drag. We've gone ahead and suffered through the heat, and we've got this gunnel all the way to the bow. under primer probably for the first time ever. I know it had gray something on it. I don't know if that was ever primer because I'm using 80 grit sandpaper on it and it's tearing it up. So I've never seen a primer do that. We've gone over on this side, of course, to do some more sanding. This one's in its second stage. We did the whole gunnel yesterday. Do have two small spots. There's one here and one up near the bow that we missed, so we just decided to grab it at the same time we were going to do this little spot here. Tomorrow I'm probably going to hit it with another layer of primer here in a little while before we call it a night. And we've gone ahead and flat sanded our deck, our rear deck here, and it's turning out quite nice. There was a couple tiny small, whatever you want to call them, low spots still. When you flat sanded with, I don't know, what is that, 13-inch block or whatever it is, you can just feel the primer has never been touched. So put another layer on top of it and hopefully you'll catch it the next time you sand it, which will be tomorrow. Also went ahead and dry coated the transom. Yeah, this has been sitting here for, oh no, Christ, almost weeks and weeks and weeks. Just kind of got to a certain stage with it like I thought I was going to, and just said enough is enough. I'm not going to finish this thing because I already dropped something into it and put a big dig in it and had to fix that. So I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be finished and oh no, nobody touch that. It's not like it's going to be in a garage or something and we can put cardboard over it. I'm climbing in and out of this thing 37,000 times a day anyway, so with everything under the sun, from fans to sanders to hammers to whatever. I forget what it was, but something felt right against the transom. Put a big dig in it about the A-long. But we've gone ahead and dry coated it. Doesn't look as bad as I thought. It looks worse along the top here where I really haven't done a whole lot. I had noticed when I would sit in the garage here, I'd look outside and the sunlight would hit across it and it would really look wavy, but you can't really feel anything. So that looks a little rough. Got a couple small spots. I mean, the reality is, I mean, this whole section wasn't here, that whole section wasn't there, and that was, which is not there now. And yet, I've got a few little dark spots that I'm going to probably do a coat of primer on first, and then I'm going to go ahead and reprime the whole thing, or prime it for a first time. And yeah, the transom's going to be near completion here soon. And we're just moving from step to step to step to step to step to step around the boat as we go, because you know, I want to give the primer enough time to go off. And it's, you know, the can says in 2 hours. Yeah, right. You start sanding that stuff in 2 hours and all you're going to end up with is gummy sandpaper. So it's kind of like, you know, get one ready, move on to the next one, get another one ready, move on to the next one, get that one ready, move on to the next one, and just kind of keep cycling around. Like soon, very soon though, a day I'll be wanting to go from this one to that one to that one to that one to that one, instead of spending most of my day just on this one gunnel alone, and trying to catch up on a few other things to get them moving ahead, so tomorrow they'll actually be ready. But rambling on enough, I got some priming to do, and I don't know what else I'm going to get done tonight, but it probably ain't going to be a whole lot. So after all this, that is a sight to behold. Buongiorno, and welcome to another day. Thought I'd get a little international on y'all for a change. That's about as much, I don't know, Italian I know. Maybe spaghetti. Maybe spaghetti is a Chinese word. Who knows? But either way, I'm a little bit shocked this afternoon. When I opened my door to start my new day here on my project, I was presented with this. And I know to some of you all it's just like, yeah, it's a transom with a cold cut in it. But if you look back where we started at, wow. And it's been, you know, multicolor sitting out here, so it looks like it's a work in progress for months now. Well, one coat of primer, like I said yesterday. But either way, today's objectives, we're going to start by priming the dashboard, let that be able to sit in the sunlight. It's hot as a mug out here, but the blue skies are kind of gray looking. I'm thinking that maybe we're probably going to get hit with a storm or something eventually here, because this atmosphere is extremely unstable at the moment. You can just tell, you know. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prime up the dashboard, let that set. Then we're going to do a first sand on this gunnel, which is quite hot. Third sand on the top deck. A first primer sand on the transom. A second sand on this gunnel, and maybe a third time around on the deck, but we'd have to get at least they're a little bit cloudier, or we're just going to have to wait till later on this afternoon when this big beautiful maple tree over here says no more sunlight on the boat. So yeah, it's a whole lot more sanding, back forth, back forth, back forth, and I don't know how much film I can really record of just sanding, and y'all will actually even pay attention to it, just not skip the whole video entirely. So we will update you as progress goes ahead. One thing I have noticed while doing some major work on this boat, or at least the top half and the transom here, was I was kind of like looking at the sides and thinking, yeah, this is great, no problems here. You know, just light sanding, maybe a little primer here and there to take out a little of this waviness, because these boats are so solid. There should be absolutely no wave in this at all. I started looking tight, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this stuff on camera, but man, back to the whole, if it ain't right, paint it white. There has to be 50 digs right there. I mean, that's just right there. And I'm here, all that down there, all that down there, all that down there, and it just keeps on going. So it's not as detailed. I mean, we're not talking about giant holes. Giant holes, you know, we're not talking about inches of fiberglass and all this good stuff, but we do have to spend at least a day on each side, I guarantee that, maybe even more. So yeah, we're moving along, but it's not all done yet. It's just boring film, to be honest, and so we'll just do the updates. Well, I don't think my spring's supposed to look like that. Looks like I got something else to do for a minute. Lucky enough, a couple years ago I bought springs because I broke one. I kept breaking the ends off. I don't know what the deal is with these springs, but the ends would just keep snapping off, so I just kept making another loop as it went down, but this time it's actually broken in half, so there's no fixing that, so that was the new set. Now I just have to install them. Boy, those strings stretch. Wow. I haven't had new springs in here since the house was built, and of course I didn't build it, and when I moved into the house, the garage door was actually broken because the springs were broken. It almost killed the deal on the house, believe it or not. It was just, we had a list, and they were like, we're not messing with the garage door, and it's like, hey, we've got a list of stuff you need to fix before we buy this. And this was an 2008 during the housing crisis, so they were pretty lucky for us to even make a bid, to be honest. Long story short, the garage door didn't work. And they were like, we're not fixing it, screw it. And I really wanted to live here, and I just told the wife, I said, you know what, a garage door opener is like 70 bucks. Let's not kill the deal on that. So we skipped it, and then we moved in, and like, I don't know, like the first afternoon I looked at this, I got out some pieces and actually kind of cobbled together this spring here, and the garage door worked fine. I've had to replace the garage door opener once, but that's about it. In 20 plus years, this house, 99, yeah, 22 years now that this house has been standing. So yeah, one garage door opener, but the springs, like I said, I've been cobbling them things together forever. And now it's brand new springs. So let's get back to race boat life. What? It's just fiberglass dust. At least it isn't bird food stuck to my nose. Yeah, little lady, I hear it too. Looks like we got some thunder in the background. out towards the city. Either that or the city is burning, one way or another. But we are working away because the sun has gone in, and we've decided to finish up some of the outside panels on the seats, get them in place. Like I said, I'm not worried about them being lifted right now. I was just standing on one that was sitting right on the floor, so little L bracket will fix those guys. I did a lot of sanding around the outside edges. I just couldn't stand the drips and crap anymore, and I wanted to make sure that outside edge, even though it has a piece of piping that goes around it for the upholstery, so you don't even see that corner, I still wanted it, you know, right, you know, just in case. Diligently working away, and now that the sun's gone down, or gone behind some big storm clouds, it looks like, I think I may do some sanding on the bow. Just gotta catch my breath here for a little bit. It's still hot as crap, even though it's overcast now. I wish it would thunderstorm, because that would mean a different front would come through at least, and maybe, just maybe, make it a little cooler for a little while. That looks so good now. How you doing?
You have a good day, sir.
Yeah, same video. That stuff looks really good now. And I'm telling you, as soon as I hit it with some primer, it's going to look like hell. But we got to go through the process. So back to it. Welcome to another done day. Yeah, there isn't really much to talk about. I mean, a lot of sanding, a lot of fixing, a lot more sanding. Yeah, we worked on a chair some. The sides are the only part that's going to be exposed over there, so that's the only real area we're concerned about. As I said before, there's actually a piece of upholstery that goes from that point there, goes actually all the way up to the dashboard. But it goes from this point here, and it kind of keeps that same level and goes all the way across to here. So there's only like a little sliver that shows, and that little front section right there. So that's our main concern. Wow, I mean, look at this transom deck. I mean, freaking wow. There's a couple wet spots on it at the moment. I was having some real issues about sanding the transom itself. I did a little heavy yesterday on the primer, and it has been humid as humid could be all day, so I don't think it all kind of kicked off. A lot of it I've been given like 2 and 3 days, because it's just other things have been, you know, filling my time before I actually get back to it. But this one's only been sitting for about, I don't know. Now at this point, this is when I primed it last night, so it sat all night, which would have gave it moisture all night. Then during the day it was humid as all get out, and then on top of that we're back to the night again, and it's humid as usual. So I'm going to let, like, I took my box sander and I kind of like knocked off the surface a little bit, and I'm going to give it another day to go ahead and dry up. But everything else right now is up to about 150 grit, and yeah, we're moving along real fast. But it's almost dark, I'm hot, tired, and hungry, and I ain't gonna find no relief out here. So see you tomorrow. Welcome to another day, folks. A pretty nice day, to be honest. Mid 80s, a little humid out. Got some storms rolling in later, and yeah, with a little overcast, the sun really isn't beating down on me like it's been the last few days. or what you could say a perfect sanding day. I'm lying. There is no such thing as a perfect sanding day. I mean, I wouldn't care if it was 40 degrees out here and I had laborers doing this. It still wouldn't be a perfect sanding day. But today is the day that I'm going to be doing a lot of sanding. As I've said before, it really doesn't translate into great film. So you just have to take my word for it. We're going to go ahead with stage 3 on the bow. That means basically we're up to 220 on it, or we're about to go up to 220 on it. And this one should be ready. This gunnel over here should be ready for 220. That would get me all the way down to this side. This deck should definitely be ready for 220. And this gunnel should be ready for 220. The only questionable mark is the dashboard and a little bit of these seats here. They're probably going to need a little TLC before it's all over, being that we just started those yesterday. And then of course there's our transom, which we couldn't get sanded yesterday. Like I said, I'm gonna try to let it go off as long as I can. It does feel a whole lot better than it did yesterday. It almost had kind of like a tacky, icky, you know, kind of feel. But I knew breaking the surface would help it out a lot, allow it to dry out. So we're definitely going to be working on that later. But today's goal is to try to get everything that is attached to this boat up to 220 grit. And then from there we'll go to 300 or 320, whatever it is. I don't know. 400, somewhere around there is probably where we're going to stop for paint. So if we can get up to 400, hey. But I got work to do. Get back to you in a second. Well, what's becoming pretty normal lately, we got deer in the front yard and weather moving in. We're just sanding, so it's not like critical at the moment, but it was just raining, so we did stop. As I said before, I'm not above wet sanding in the rain, but there's no reason to at the moment because I still having issues with the transom. I mean, it's still gumming up some sandpaper. I just wiped it down with some alcohol after I gave it a 180 grit, kind of going over. We'll see how that works out. Worst case scenario, I'll pull out the hose over here and we'll just start wet sanding it. That won't clog nothing. But I really don't want to do that because I don't want to deal with a mess at the moment. Yeah, pretty much everything except for the gunnels, the dashboard, and the 2 seats are all up to 220 now. As soon as the rain stops, I'll tackle the gunnels. I'm really just trying to get the top and the transom. The sun was doing something weird over here and we were kind of getting it out of this way, which is just totally abnormal. It'd be coming out of the north. So everything else was dark and it was real bright and it was hitting this side. Take a look. Yeah, all those little circles are scratches, dents, digs, holes. I mean, these are even holes that are going to have to be filled with fiberglass. So there's plenty more to do. Up here, down there. I just didn't even start a circle. I just took this line and just kept on going because everything down here has got real issues. And it goes on and on and on. So it's not that terrible. I mean, it is an Allmand, so it's built like a tank. And it's all cosmetic. It's not like I have to get out the fiberglass and rebuild a seat or a stringer or a deck. But there is plenty to do. I just wish my primer was going off a little better over here. I think I'm going to have to get a different kind this time. The first kind Jack got was in a little can, same brand, and it worked great. First 2-3 cans on this stuff worked great. I mean, I did do a little heavy on the transom, like I said, but it shouldn't be gumming up like this. This has been 36, almost 48 hours later, so it shouldn't be doing that. Of course, like I said, it's humid out before, and it was humid when we did it, so it's probably my own fault. I think I'm gonna take a quick trip to the Home Depot while this passes. I gotta get some Lexan and a few other things. I think I'm kind of done with the dry sanding on the top for a little while. The whole thing's up to 320. Transom's up to 220. Come out here with my hose and started wet sanding, and Mother Nature decided to help out a little bit this time and throw out a downpour. So I stuck it out, got a little wet, but you know, it's warm out, so what the hell. And finished up what I needed to finish up. I only was out here for about 20 minutes, so it wasn't all that bad. But we are up to 320. I'm going to save the 400. That's where I'm stopping at. I know some people will go up further and further. Now, I know a lot of people won't even go up as high as 400, so that's where I'm stopping on a wet sand. And I will do at least one coat of paint to see what it's going to look like. Wouldn't be the first time I've stopped after the first coat or the first couple coats and looked at it and said, okay, we got to do some more repairs. Being that it's about 8:30 in the evening and it's raining and I'm only going to 320 until we're like real close to actually painting. I mean, I want to be like real close. It's almost like I use 400 as my last sweep, so to speak. I do want to see it tomorrow. I want to get everything all nice and dried out, take a really good look around and see make sure everything is covered up. There's a crap ton of optical illusions in this boat, so getting it under paint would be a really plus. I mean, between the primer, the putty, and the fiberglass, I mean, you can look at something like this and say, yeah, that looks just like a void, but it's totally smooth and ready to be painted. Now I have to go check my paint inventory and see what we got, and Jack needs to make up his mind what colors he wants. Until then, signing off until tomorrow. And in the here we go. Wow, it's hot. It's filler film, I guess. I don't know. How much sanding can you actually film? Plane go by. And my nose works. It's just boring filming it. I told you the squirrels are going to be pissed off at you. But for now, it's pretty much an overnight. But for now, the night is over. Even though it's a little hot. But for now, the night is over. Even though it seems, I'm not. But for now, the night is over. But for now, the night is over. And even though the weather is a whole lot cooler than it's been, darkness shall shed upon us soon. Oh, God, that's so terrible. But being it's close to 8 o'clock or no, actually it's after. Never mind. With another 8:30 in the evening finish. There's a lot of optical illusions in this boat between the fiberglass, there's a crap ton of optical illusions in this boat between the fiberglass, the potty, and the potty.